Games, not tech, are what will lead crypto to mainstream adoption. Bold statement, but I think one that I hold personally true. So, there's a phrase that goes around in the crypto communities, and it is mainstream adoption. That's the term. And it is the concept that we want to get Bitcoin and crypto into the hands of as many people as possible. And people do that through many different ways. So we have seen previous attempts by, let's say, BitPay. We have seen the Blockstream satellite launched into space, trying to decentralize the Bitcoin network so that Bitcoin will work even when the internet doesn't. I don't really know the details behind that one, but there you have it. I just think it was kind of a show off of money. When you have too much money, Lambos aren't enough, gentlemen. So we've seen a lot of different wallets. We've seen all of these efforts to get impoverished countries and things like that onto Bitcoin and using cryptocurrencies. And then we've even seen services that run on Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. So we're looking at BitChute, for example, as a YouTube competitor. We're looking at decentralized Patreons that run on Bitcoin. I forgot what is it called? The name escapes me now, but there's a Patreon that you can use that runs essentially on Bitcoin and trying to get this into the hands of people who perhaps are banned on Patreon and other fundraising websites, and trying to move them over to the crypto side. So these are all different attempts and all different ways and methods of attack, we can say, by crypto infrastructure, by crypto individuals trying to get this infrastructure out into the greater market. But to be completely honest, I think most of them have only really had kind of middling success. And most of the traders and people that I know in crypto who have traded crypto for a long time, who have used crypto, who know what crypto is and have very good idea of what crypto represents and its value proposition, they don't really use Bitcoin for much of anything at all. I talked to one of my friends the other day. He's been in crypto since I think 2014 or 2015, and I said, hey, what do you use Bitcoin for, really, aside from trading? And he said, I don't use it for anything. The last time I actually used Bitcoin for something was six months ago or a year ago for something. Most of the crypto market, most of the crypto ecosystem today, even for people who know how to use crypto, is not really used for much of anything. Ethereum is maybe a little bit better because personally, I even in my own personal case, I've never really used Bitcoin for much of anything. I tried to pay my rent once with Bitcoin, and my landlord didn't want it. I paid for a Coinigy subscription once with Bitcoin, and that was kind of it. And so, even in my circles, we're not really using Bitcoin for much of anything. No one else is using it for much of anything. I've used Ethereum here and there to pay for services and things like that. So even if I want to pay for something, Ethereum is usually better just because it's faster. And so it's just this case of, you want to get this into the hands of as many people as possible, but even you yourself aren't really using it. Now, there is one thing I have used crypto not extensively for, but much more than sending money around, and that is for games. I have used crypto for games, and a lot of the traders I know have used it for games. So we're talking about back in the day. Going to rewind time a little bit. We had games like Bust-A-Bit, Honeypot, as it was called initially, where it's kind of like this gambling game where you have a chart here and the chart goes up over time, and you make a bet, and you can cash out your bet at any time. So you can say, well, I want to cash out my bet at 10x. And so you're waiting for the chart, and once it hits 10x, you can cash out. You won 10 times the initial money that you put in. And that's the game. Except sometimes, there's a house edge. I think it's 1%. So usually over a long period of time, no matter what you set, you are multiple at, you're going to lose money. And so that's how the house makes their money. But this was quite a fun game for a lot of people. I know individuals who were winning 100 Bitcoin, 1,000 Bitcoin, so on, back when Bitcoin was worth a lot less. And that was just a fun thing that they did, and it was a fun game. And so that brought a lot of users on to actually use this thing. And so nowadays we have Ether Crash, which is newer and runs on Ethereum, and it's very similar to Bust-A-Bit. But the basic point is that people do use and have used crypto more for things like games, really, than much of anything else. I've used Augur once. Yeah, I've used Augur to buy some stock on whether the Dems or the Republicans would win the House after the last election. So this was about a year ago. and that was an okay experience. I never did it again because Augur is such a terrible platform. Like, it's still so bad. It's like one of the few, unfortunately, it's one of the few smart contract platforms on smart contract projects on Ethereum that is actually complete-ish, and it's just the user experience is so sad. But I use Augur, so that I kind of classify that into games, and then we're looking at some of the largest things on Ethereum aside from raising money through ICOs has been games. One of them was CryptoKitties, famous. CryptoKitties actually ended up getting so big that it clogged the Ethereum network and ground it to a complete stall because there were so many people trying to buy and trade these CryptoKitties that it was just there was way too many transactions on the network, and so the CryptoKitties itself almost basically brought Ethereum to its knees because it was so popular. And individuals outside of crypto were learning about CryptoKitties, getting into it, buying their Bitcoin, and then converting that to Ethereum, or buying Ethereum directly through Coinbase and playing these CryptoKitties, which are kind of like Digimon, where you could collect them, or Tamagotchi, you could collect them and grow them, and they each had their own value. And it's really cool. And one of the sad things about CryptoKitties is you have to wonder, if Ethereum actually had scaling at the time, if it could properly scale, could CryptoKitties really have gotten much bigger? Because I think it could have. And we'll never know. But that's one of the unfortunate aspects of Ethereum's slow scaling issues, is we'll never really know if CryptoKitties will have gotten as big as it possibly could have been. And I think I think the answer certainly is yes. It could have really brought a lot more mainstream adoption than anything else, than some weird infrastructure or blockchain, Internet of blockchains, or whatever the buzzwords are these days. It's always a platform or an ETH killer or something like that brings the big bucks. But what brings the actual mainstream adoption is usually games like CryptoKitties. Another famous one was FOMO 3D. FOMO 3D launched, I believe this launched in 2018, about halfway through 2018, and this was a game where everyone was putting money into a pot, and one person would win all of the money in the pot. The last person who sent Ethereum to this contract would win all of the money that was previously sent to the contract. So there was a catch, of course. So every time you sent money to the contract, you were now the last person. You were the winner of FOMO 3D. But when you sent that Ethereum, you would add, I believe it was 10 minutes to the clock. So it was a countdown, and the countdown had to reach 0. Once it reached 0, the last person who had contributed Ethereum would win all of the Ethereum. And so that was the game. If you were the last person, you would win all of the Ethereum, but by contributing to this smart contract, you were adding 10 minutes to the time it would take to for the smart contract to expire and you to actually win. So it would give everyone else 10 minutes to add their own Ethereum to it. So that actually got really big. I think the first person who won it ended up winning it through some pretty smart and intelligent methods of clogging the Ethereum blockchain. Again, those scaling issues. And filling it up with fake transactions and having one real transaction that was his transaction for 10 minutes, or for however long it took, and then winning, letting the timer expire because no one else could get any transactions in because this guy was spending so much gas on his that the miners weren't going to pick your transaction, which was cheaper, which was going to earn him less money. So this guy won 10,000 Ethereum, which at the time was something like $2.5 million. So obviously a really, really great thing. I played FOMO 3D. It was pretty fun. Obviously, I lost my money. I think I lost like 1 point something Ethereum. So at the time, it wasn't too much. It was like $300 or so. But it was fun. It was definitely fun. So we had games like CryptoKitties. We had games like FOMO 3D that got really big and could have gotten bigger because the only reason they didn't necessarily is because of the scaling issues. And so moving forward, we can see other games that are being put on blockchain. And one of the ones that I'm most bullish on is poker, actually. So we have projects like Virtue Poker. We have projects like Funfair, which is doing not just poker, but an array of different games. We have Edgeless, which I don't really know what Edgeless has been doing, but I'll name it here anyway because it belongs in these poker-ish, because you can play poker on Edgeless. So it belongs in this kind of tier of gambling applications. So poker, if you actually want to play poker today, you need to do it through a centralized service. Most people use PokerStars, and PokerStars takes a huge rake. They'll take a lot of money away from your winnings. Obviously, you don't like that as a poker player, especially as a winning poker player. It's almost like you're getting taxed. So what you can do now, or in the future, you'll be able to play poker on blockchain. And so once this happens, I know a lot of poker players who poker players are usually always ahead of the curve in terms of technology. I find poker players and porn stars are always ahead of the curve for whatever weird reason. They're always ahead of things. So they know about Bitcoin. So the poker stars are definitely going to be moving onto these platforms. And if they move onto the platforms, then all these other people are going to move onto the platforms. On top of the obvious benefits of having a platform where there is no rake, or very little rake, or much less rake, and you can provably verify the games are correct and there's no kind of cheating going on. So it's obviously a very good opportunity for blockchain to win people over and gain a lot of that mainstream adoption. So in conclusion, I think there's one side of it, which is the mainstream adoption. We want to have mainstream adoption, and that's great and all. The other side of it is, how are you actually going to do it? And in my opinion, it's going to come down to games. It's going to come down to crypto games, blockchain games, provably fair games that people are going to be able to play, and we're going to get eventually something that's going to be like, whether it's crypto kitties and NFTs, non-fungible tokens, and people are going to grow their Tamagotchi or whatever, or it's going to be some kind of geocaching game like Pokemon Go maybe on blockchain somehow, and that becomes a worldwide hit, or we're going to get poker, and that's going to bring a lot of poker players, and all the poker players are going to be coming in and using crypto, and that's how we'll get mainstream adoption. So I'm pretty bullish on games as a concept for crypto, and I think games, not blockchain necessarily, are what will lead to mainstream adoption. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Leave a like if you liked it. Subscribe to the channel. We had 300 subs in the first week of videos. Let's try to get that to 500. That would be awesome. So yeah, subscribe if you want to see more. I will do videos daily, Monday through Friday. Yeah, and that's it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.